In the misty steel city of Elmsworth, there lived a man who believed his name was Victor Lane. Victor was an ordinary man in every way. He lived a quiet, lonely life. He kept to the same quiet life routine every day. But beneath that routine was a thick, nameless silence that was like a dream he had once forgotten. Then, on one drizzling Tuesday, everything changed. There she was, a woman in a long red coat, standing perfectly still by Platform 3 old ticket booth. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She only stared, with eyes full of history and heartbreak. And just as Victor stepped onto the train, he heard a whisper, "You don't remember me, do you?" As he turned to look at who spoke, she was already gone. The next morning, the woman appeared again at Platform 3 in the train station. She kept coming back to the train station just to stand and watch silently until one day, Victor stepped toward her and asked, "Do we know each other?" She gave a sad smile. "You knew me. Once before everything." Then she turned and vanished again into the fog. That night, Victor couldn't sleep. The ticking of the clock sounded like a countdown. The walls of his apartment suddenly felt unfamiliar. Searching for anything real, he looked under his bed, and found a leather-bound notebook covered in dust. Inside, a neat handwriting flowed like a love letter written to time itself. And on the first page were the words, "Day 103. He still doesn't remember. He still believes he's Victor. But his real name is Jonah Thorne." Page after page of the book told stories of a life he didn't know. Moments he never lived. It talked about a woman he had once loved. And a daughter who once laughed like spring rain. At the very back of the book was a faded photo of a man who looked just like him holding hands with the woman in red. Panicked, Victor went to the Mind Watch Division, who are the guardians of mental integrity in Elmsworth. He told them about the woman, the journal, the dreams that now haunted his waking hours. But they found no file. No woman. No Jonah Thorne. One officer finally said softly, "What if the truth is that the woman is not lying but you are the one lying?" So Victor returned to Platform 3 at the train station, and there she was again waiting. This time she spoke. She told him he had once been Jonah, a brilliant inventor, a creator of neural machines. She reminded him that he had discovered a way to wipe memories clean. To erase pain like a smudge on glass, and after the fire that stole their home, and their little girl Luna, he chose to forget it all. She told him that he had asked her to erase everything. The grief, the memories, even her. And so she did. He then changed his name to Victor. Hollow and unbroken but empty. But she, however, remembered everything. So she returned to the station each day, hoping that some moment, a glance, a word, a whisper would reignite what he lost. As she turned to leave once more, he asked, his voice cracking like an old wood, "What was her name? Our daughter?" She looked at him, tears streaking silently down her cheeks. "Luna," she whispered, and something in him cracked. His hands began to tremble. The fog lifted from his mind, and for the first time in many years, Jonah remembered. He remembered the little hands that once held his, the lullabies sung in the glow of a firelit room, the laughter echoing in a house that no longer stood. He remembered Luna. And he remembered her, Clara, the woman in the red coat. Clara didn't speak as the recognition filled his eyes. She just watched, her breath caught between hope and heartbreak. "I remember," Jonah whispered, his voice hoarse like forgotten wind. "The cottage near the lake, her drawings on the walls, the night the fire came." Clara closed her eyes, the pain too deep for words. "Yes," she said softly. "And the way you screamed her name until your voice broke." Jonah dropped to the bench behind him, head in his hands. "I asked you to take it all away." "Yes, you did." "You begged me to," Clara said, tears now running freely. "You told me you couldn't bear the weight of it anymore. That love had become a curse." "And you agreed?" he asked, barely able to meet her gaze. She nodded. "I agreed because I loved you. And I hoped one day, love would bring you back." A heavy, fragile, sacred silence fell between them. Then Jonah looked up. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you." Clara sat beside him. "Grief doesn't make you unworthy, Jonah. It only makes you human." He reached for her hand, slowly, unsure. And she let him. There, on that quiet platform in the fog, the past and present held hands. One broken man. One faithful woman. And the memory of a little girl in the firelight. He turned to her. "What now?" She gave a trembling smile through tears. She replied, "We remember. Together." And so, in a city of glass and ghosts, a man once named Victor found his name again. Not in records or systems, but in love. And in the whisper of a name once lost to fire, Luna. Days passed. Jonah, no longer Victor, didn't return to his apartment. He couldn't. It felt like a museum of someone else's life. Instead, he followed Clara through the fog-filled streets of Elmsworth, down winding alleys he once knew. She showed him the old cafe where Luna would sip warm milk with 2 marshmallows. The bench near the river where they once dreamed of building a life far from machines. And the little house, now just ruins and ash, where laughter once lived. Memories came back to him like sparks. Not in order. Not gently. Some brought warmth. Others pain. But they came. One night, Jonah stood before the charred remains of their home, his hand gripping Clara's. "I built a machine to escape grief," he said. "But I didn't realize it would also erase the meaning of love." Clara looked up at him, her red coat catching the moonlight like a flame. "You didn't want to live. You just wanted to exist." "I didn't know the difference," he whispered. She stepped closer. "You do now." That winter, Jonah began writing again, not code or equations, but memories. Pages filled with drawings of Luna's smile, notes of the songs she hummed, sketches of their garden, unfinished and wild. One morning, Clara placed a small box in his hand. Inside was his wedding ring. "I kept it," she said. "Even when you didn't remember us." "I did." His fingers shook as he slid the ring back on. "It doesn't fix anything," he said. "No," she replied. "But it remembers." Weeks turned into months. Jonah and Clara moved into a modest flat above a bookstore, the same one they once visited on Sunday afternoons. He never regained every memory. Some were too far gone. But with Clara by his side he made new ones. Brighter ones. Woven with sorrow, but also with peace. Sometimes they would sit in the park watching children play. And when one little girl with curly hair ran past, laughing like Luna used to, Jonah closed his eyes and smiled through the ache. He had once erased love to escape pain. But now he had learned, to remember is to hurt, but it's also to heal. Spring arrived in Elmsworth. The heavy fog gave way to light rain and blooming trees. Clara started painting again, small canvases filled with red coats, green fields, and a girl always just out of frame. And Jonah found purpose in remembering. He began speaking to others, people who had used memory erasure to forget grief, trauma, even heartbreak. He shared his story not as a warning but as a reminder. You cannot cut grief from the heart without cutting love along with it. People listened but not all that understood. But some did. And quietly, the fog that clung to their lives began to lift, just as it had for him. One afternoon, Jonah and Clara visited the cemetery outside the city. The place she had gone alone every year. He had never been there since the fire. Clara knelt and laid down a white lily beside a small headstone. Jonah stood in silence. The stone read, "Luna Thorne, our brightest light, gone too soon, never forgotten." His voice cracked as he spoke. "Hi, little one. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I'm here now." The wind stirred, brushing the petals of the flower like a whisper. Jonah sat beside Clara, and for a long time they said nothing. Because sometimes love doesn't speak. It just stays. That night when they returned home, Clara made tea. For Jonah, and for the first time he picked up Luna's old music box, the one he had once asked her to hide. He wound it slowly. The melody it produced was soft, familiar. And for the first time in years, he didn't cry. He closed his eyes, resting his hand on Clara's. "I'll never forget again," he said. And she whispered, "You don't have to remember everything. Just remember enough to love." In a city of steel and silence, a man once erased his pain to survive. But he learned that love is not the absence of sorrow, it is the choice to carry it anyway. He was once Victor Lane. But that was only a name. His real name was Jonah Thorne. A father. A husband. A dreamer. A man who forgot love, and then found it again. Not in memory, but in presence, in loss, in hope.
Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this beautiful story, please drop a like on the video and leave a comment on your favorite part of the story, moral lessons, and so on your notification bell so that you can get notified anytime a new and interesting video is released. If you believe in second chances, if you believe scars can become symbols of strength, share this story. Let it reach someone who's still fighting their past. Subscribe to my channel, Folktales by Queen Mother, for more real African stories that inspire, transform, and live forever in your heart. Please be rest assured that if you support me by liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel, you will always stay motivated. It has not been easy getting here, but I really appreciate all of you who always watch my videos to the end. It's a lot of hard work, days of sleepless nights before one of these videos you watch on this channel is produced. I am counting on your support always to take this channel to the top. Thank you once again for your unwavering love and support. God bless you all.